Peace, everyone. I'm Tanisha, the host of Self Love Sanctuary, where I empower women to rise above burnout with self love and play. If you are into self discovery, self love, wellness, having fun, and mental health, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome. What's going on, family? It's Coach Niche. Man, I am so excited for today's episode. And I'm also so proud of myself because this is the last episode of this season, y'all. We here, we made it. Giving some bomb content on this Self Love Sanctuary podcast on ways to recharge, reset, reclaim your joy. And I hope that it's been really helpful for you all. It's so beautiful seeing how you could have a thought and really see it come alive. And today I'm leaving you all with one of my favorite topics. I've alluded to it in different episodes. Today, we're going to explore my favorite remedy for burnout, which is travel. Woo! When life feels overwhelming and your energy is running on empty, getting away, even briefly, can offer powerful healing. Travel is not just about escaping, it's about rediscovering yourself in a new environment. So today, I'll share how travel helps you step out of the burnout cycle, the benefits of mindful traveling, whether it's a grand vacation or a local day trip, tips to make restorative traveling accessible, even on a budget. You can do it. So let's get ready to dive in, pack your mental suitcase, and let's embark on this journey together. So I want to start with why travel is such an effective antidote to burnout. Burnout thrives in when you are stagnant, when you're in the monotony of your everyday life. You're doing the same thing over and over. The routine can feel endless when you're stuck in the same environment that's contributing to your stress. You're going to your job day in, day out without taking a mental health day. You go to the same gym to get your workout in. You never switch things up. You eat the same thing. Travel disrupts that cycle. It allows us to step out of our daily grind and experience the world and ourselves in a fresh way. It allows you to figure out who you are. Studies show that even a short break in a new setting can reduce cortisol levels, improve mood, and spark creativity. When you're burnt out, these shifts can be life changing. Travel isn't just about going somewhere, it's about reconnecting with a sense of curiosity, freedom, and possibility. And I am such a huge advocate for travel, and that mindful piece is so important because when you are traveling, not to escape, but to just feel some freedom in a shift and a change in yourself is rejuvenating. And when you're intentional about it, it is even better. And I use tools for myself like human design and astrogeography that help me even more with picking places that align really well with my energy. And I do not do astrogeography for business, but for those who've never heard of it, it is pretty much being able to look at a map of the world with the planets' positions as they were in the sky at the time of your birth. So if you have your birth time, you have your location, you can use different sites. I believe one is astroseek.com, and it's for free. But I also know people who do this, and I've had my reading done to figure out where do I align best? Like, what would be a really good vacation for me? Where is a good line for my business? And when I'm feeling stressed and tired, like, what's a good place to go? So that's another level to do it. But if you're like, sis, I ain't got time for all that, like, you can just pick a place that really calls to you. And that's really what it is. You just go where you're energetically pulled and you know what's best for you. You always do. It's just a time to reconnect with your sense of curiosity, freedom, and possibility. And then with the mindful travel, it's not about how far you go. It's really about how present you are with yourself. And that really means like taking a break from everyone. Sometimes it is shutting off your phone. Nature escapes. It could be a hike, a day at the beach, go to the park. Nature is so grounding. I try to do it at least once every 2 weeks. to go to one of my favorite hiking places because they have a lake. It's very serene. I can actually go get water from a natural spring, the fresh air, the greenery. It calms your nervous systems and brings you clarity. And that's something you can do for free. I have places where I'll take about an hour drive away, and that does it for me as a quick reset. You don't always have to have these lavish trips, although nothing is wrong with that either. Cultural immersions, exploring a new culture through food, art, or traditions can be energizing. It reminds us how diverse and vibrant the world is, pulling us out of our bubble of stress. I remember earlier in 2024, I believe it was February, if I'm not mistaken, and here in Georgia, we have the Chinese New Year celebration at one of the parks out here. And I felt the call to go do that because I was being stagnant, stuck in my day to day. It's like, I feel like going to this. They had these beautiful lights, and I got to learn a little bit more about the Chinese culture. And it was enlightening, and it definitely made me smile. And it was just so pretty how they did everything, too. One of my favorites, I'd say, are probably solo retreats. So I always travel with groups. Like I'm the person who plans the trip. I'm the one who gets us there out the group chat, as they say. But I always said it was on my bucket list to travel alone too. And I've done like a little day trip someplace. I've went out the state by myself for the first time, really in 2022. I've been on a plane out of state, but that was to go see a friend. In 2022, I did my first solo retreat for my solo return actually. Now, I went to Tennessee, and there's this place called the Ruby Falls Caves. If you've never been, I highly suggest going. You go into this elevator, and you're going about 400 feet below the ground. And it was crazy just doing that. Like my ears started popping, and it's nothing but these beautiful crystals inside the caves. There's a beautiful waterfall at the end of the walk. And I was just so amazed to do this. It just gave me such time to reflect, and it was just seeing the beauty of, for me it's that nature part. And then I did a hike, and I went and I got some food in the area, and then I went back to my hotel, and I did that for 2 days in a row, and that was great for my soul. It's what I needed, because this was actually right about before I was going to launch for my business, and it was a stressful time. So that reset, it felt so good, and it was so empowering too to go someplace new totally by myself. I've seen women do it. I'm like, I don't know, it's for me. And it definitely was for me. And learning that astrogeography, Tennessee is actually a part of my line. And it's that love and for things that I love, people who I love. And I had a beautiful time there. And since then, I've actually taken a solar retreat once a year. In October 2023, I went to what's called the Getaway House, and it's pretty much like a small vehicle, like a little RV in the middle of nowhere. It was North Georgia that we have out here, and that was the first time where I feel that I really disconnected and got back to me. Uh, it was beyond stressful time because at this point the failures happened in my offers, and I wasn't sure where I was going with in business. And I just felt like I need this soul revival to happen. And what a better way than the woods? Let me tell y'all, I was scared shitless. I'm like, I'm gonna do it with the fear though. That's one thing. I'm gonna do it with the fear because I just knew that I needed to disconnect from the world. I was getting tired of social media. I was getting tired of just being everywhere. And I put my phone in the lockbox that they had, and I had such a beautiful time. But I also reconnected with myself to see how much I relied on social media to connect with people, and I wasn't fully connecting with myself, and that led to some of that burnout as well. I was always on. And so to be off, it felt a little awkward. I'm like, wow, I'm just waking up, going outside, reading a book, making my tea, and that's it. Normally, I'm doing those things and then I'm active, I'm doing something, I'm going someplace. this location was near like nowhere, and this was the middle of winter here. So it was cold, it was uncomfortable, but I'm like, I'm here. And I was able to write such beautiful poems and just think about what I really want. I came back from that trip with just clarity of like, all right, I'm gonna shut myself down from social media. And I really did take a break, and it allowed me to read more. Like, it's crazy the things that happen when you're not stuck to your phone and glued, and just have more enriching conversations in person, connect deeper with myself, with God, with those in my community. And I want to say, you're probably thinking, travel sounds amazing, but girl, I don't have the money for it. And I hear you. And I want to remember, I've been going through it with my business at this time. It's been ups and downs for me. I wasn't working a full-time job. And burnout makes us feel trapped. But as I've mentioned with some of these examples, traveling doesn't have to be so luxurious. So just here are some quick, clear steps you could try. Book a staycation at a local Airbnb. Explore a nearby town. Could be a day trip. Take a train ride to a city you've never visited. Even a mental vacation. Create a theme day at home inspired by a place you love. I love this. I don't get all luxurious with making a theme, but I have on my calendar and my phone almost every Sunday being a spiritual Sunday. And I have that blocked out from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The only person who can really contact me is my mom and my pops, if they come through. Um, but with that time, I just set it up where I'm being mindful, have my tea, my smoothies. I'm sitting on the floor, maybe in meditation, going out into nature, taking a walk in my neighborhood, and then coming back, having something nourishing, learning something new that really excites me, or maybe I'm making some herbal tinctures. But I do it as if I'm a client and I'm basically the teacher of this client. Like, this is what our layout's going to be for the day. Do my face mask and just enjoy that time with myself. And usually I'm journaling by the end of this, like what came up for me, what felt good. And I always say, I want every day to feel like Sunday because there's just something about the energy of the sun that's so radiant and it feels so good. And I love a slow Sunday. I I just I can't explain how it just feels so different. And tell me if anybody else out there feels that vibe that Sunday brings. It's not the only day that I love during the week, but it holds a certain special power of, I swear the day moves slower and I'm just more in my body and I'm flowing. Even when I'm making food, it feels like a soulful Sunday. Like it's lit, and that's something I create for myself. And that's part of the reasons why I love creating experiences for people in retreats because it doesn't have to be so elaborate. Um, so I'd say the biggest thing is taking that key step out of your norm and invite something new. Some tips to make traveling feel more restorative. We mentioned intentions before. Before you go, ask, what do I want to feel? Is it relaxed? Is it inspired? Use that as a guide. Unplug, turn off your notifications. Allow yourself to detach from work and your responsibilities. If you're a parent, tell the family, like, I need these next 24 hours to disconnect, and have the other parent be able to hold down the fort or ask a family member or a friend. This is where you have to lean on your tribe because if you are not your best self, then you can't help everybody else when you're running on E. Pack light, literally and mentally. Leave behind what doesn't serve you, and that includes the guilt about taking the time out for yourself. My last solo trip was when I went to Mexico. And I shared a little briefly about this time for 2024. And this was the first time I went out the country. So it was big. I'm like, oh, we about to be out here in Mexico, like really by myself and creating an experience for me to take a break. And I definitely set the intention. I remember journaling about it before I go. I was like, I just want to come back to myself. I want to have rest and fun. But I knew that this trip was not a turn up trip in terms of fun. I was like, I don't want to go to the club. I don't want to do those things. This is really a soulful retreat for me. I knew I wanted to get a massage, relax my body, relax my mind. I knew I wanted a Mayan reading. There were certain things I was very clear about. And that is so important with your travel. Be clear about the experience you want because you will have it. And so that's why I feel I mentioned in a previous podcast episode, like when I went to that church, I had a come to God moment because it was really healing and spiritual for me. And I knew that going in. I didn't know how deep I was going to go, but I knew it. I mainly went to the pool, sat there. I was reading a book, connected a little bit with people who I met. But I remember reaching out to people in Facebook groups before I left. I was like, oh no, maybe I'll meet up with somebody here and there. And that person ended up getting sick. I was like, no, this is really just all you. Like, you are going to be fully immersed in this culture. And it was such a nice time. I found all the plant-based food spots. I'm a major foodie. And me and the waitress, we were connecting so much. I was learning more Spanish. He was learning some English through me. And then I learned how, or where I should say, the salsa place was, but it was everyone was local. I was like, oh, this is a vibe. Like, I love this. I was walking more. Let me tell you something. Here, I walk for hikes, but how many times have you all went to a restaurant and then walked home after? I'm assuming it's not that often, right? Like I know people more in Europe, that's part of the culture. That's what they do. But I wasn't used to doing that. But I was like, man, I'm here. I'm gonna do this. And I felt so good slowing down. And like I learned so much about myself and I learned even more clarity with what I want to do moving forward. So I'm definitely a testament to say like those intentions are amazing. I even packed light literally. I was like, I'm not bringing all this stuff with me. And I actually ended up still overpacking and I only did a carry on. But it was just leaving behind things that didn't serve me. But I'd say like the best part, with traveling anywhere is the food and the wellness. Like your mind and body are connected, it nourishes you physically, mentally, and spiritually. I always look for the local foods. Like I knew when I went to Mexico, I had to get me a coconut. Like that's my top tiers. I love coconut water. I love the meat. It's just amazing. The fresh fruits were so good. The teas even were just so fresh, so pure. I had a raw cheesecake, y'all, that took my breath away. I think I fell in love. This salted caramel raw cheesecake. I was like, there's no way this is raw. And every ingredient was so clean, so pure. It was almost like a form of tantra. Like every sensation, I just felt all my senses light up. And that's what you want to feel, after going through burnout. You want something that excites you. Oh, of course, I stayed hydrated and I did move my body. I went to this yoga class that was actually about reconnecting with your voice. And so we were making noises and we walked and we danced. And it was something very different from what I'm used to doing. And it was awkward for me. But that is the point. Do something scared. Do something that's different. Switch the shit up. And I'm a herbalist. So I did bring my own herbs too on my trip, just for digestion. Because sometimes when you are eating different foods from different cultures, it can mess with your system a little bit. So I brought my dandelion root, brought my peppermint tea, my lavender, chamomile. And that's just what I do to help myself stay supported when I'm going away anywhere. But that Mexico was lit, y'all. It was lit. I definitely encourage anybody to try it at least once going out the country by yourself. And I went for 10 days. So it was part at an Airbnb and part at a hotel. And I learned that, well, I've always known that I love Airbnbs more than a hotel because I love having my own privacy. like having a lot of people around because there could be noisy with kids and other people. And I don't like that. When it's time for me to sleep, it's time to go. I also love having my own kitchen to be able to cook if I choose. And where I was, they didn't have that. So I was like, okay, I like this, but I don't like that. The difference is a hotel can be more safe because people are seeing you come in and out. So it all depends on what you like, but you got to figure that out. As we wrap up, I want you to remember travel isn't just about leaving. It's about arriving, coming back home to yourself. I want to thank you, everyone, for joining me in this last episode of the Self Love Sanctuary podcast. It has been such a joy and such a gift for me to pour my soul out into all of you. If you've loved this episode, if you've loved this season, please share it with someone who could use a little escape, someone who needs to pour back into themselves, someone who needs community and love. Know that I'm always here for you. If you ever need to book a consult call, feel free to click the link in my bio. We have the free ebook for you with recipes to handle burnout. This podcast will always be here living on these platforms. Subscribe, leave a review, and let me know what's your next adventure. Please embrace the journey of your life. It is an adventure. I want you all to find your bliss within. I love you all. And until the next season, take care, everyone.